Ooh. It's Temple of the False Pod After Dark. Hello, and welcome to Temple of the False Pod, where decks are not optimized but our plays sure as heck are fun. I'm Andy, and, well, we're between seasons, so we got, vignettes, as Bruce likes to call them. This is a space where we can just kind of talk about whatever's on our mind, usually shorter. Normally our episodes are about half hour now, and these will be 10-15 minutes, we'll see. Bruce is still in Greece. So he'll be flying home soon, and we'll get back on that sweet podcast recording session. Anyway, today I didn't know what to bring until I started recording, and I kind of figured it out. I didn't know what to talk about. There's so much going on in Magic nowadays, all the time. Everyone's always talking about product fatigue, and you know what? Sure, I like it. I don't know. I think more product is better. Gives you more chances to do that thing that everyone loves, which is like look at a card and go, what is that? Why have I never heard of that? Why is that awesome for this specific instance? That's not what we're here today for. We're not for today here. Here for today. For here today. Today for here. For today here. Nope. Anyway, today, I'm very excited for the return to Ixalan. Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan was the first set that came out while I started playing. It was either the first set or it had just come out. So like I always think of like Rivals of Ixalan and Dominaria 2018. Like that's the sweet spot for me. That's where I started. But I love the Pirates. I think Pirates were introduced generally around this time. And I love that we're going to go back to Ixalan. I think that we did a lot of cool things around there. We've seen some previews so far. And I thought about talking about those. But I really want to kind of wait on that till we get more revealed, but also I want to wait until Bruce is back. So I figured I'd talk about like one or two cards. And there's so much we could talk about with what's the new set? Lost Caverns of Ixalan. And I think the new stuff seems really cool. I don't know when Kellen was announced, but they are a legendary creature with an adventure stapled right onto it, which will be just really exciting for Commander. And with Kellen, we were also introduced to map tokens, which we don't know what they are yet. So that's exciting. So I figured with so much being announced for Ixalan, we'll save that for a good full episode. I wanted to talk about one of my favorite, I guess, one of my little tool pet cards from the era that I feel like doesn't get enough attention. That's the word. I don't know. I mean, if you play with it, great. I think it's super helpful. Let's just jump right into it. Card that I'm looking at is Tomb Robber. Tomb Robber is a 1/1 for 2 and a black. It's a creature human pirate with menace. Now, I know what you're saying. Yeah. It's a 1/1 for 3 mana. That's not very good, but it's got menace. That's good enough, right? You can also pay a generic mana, so any color, discard a card. Tomb Robber explores. I guess we could take this time to talk about Explore. Explore is you reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Then you have an option. You can put the card back on top of the library or put it into your graveyard. And I think that this is super helpful for plenty of reasons. One, you got counters. Wonderful. +1/+1 counters are super helpful in almost every deck, especially creature-based decks. But I mean, here you don't even have to worry about not having a creature for the counter to go on. Tomb Robber is the creature itself. Explore is a fantastic mechanic. If you look more into the Explore cards from that time period, you'll see a lot more just synergies that, I mean, obviously there's like when you explore, X happens. Like, those are synergies, but I think, especially lately, post New Capenna, I think we see a lot of powerful counter strategies, whether it's +1/+1 counters or just generically, if this thing has a counter, or if this thing is modified from Neon Dynasty is like super helpful with even just this one card, this 1/1 that you pay 1, discard a card, it will probably get a +1/+1 counter, and if it doesn't, you get a land. So I think that's really cool. And then on the other hand, you have a discard outlet, a cheap discard outlet. Sure, it's not free, but paying 1 and discarding a card, you get to put whatever you want into your graveyard. And in black, that's super helpful. In any Reanimator type deck, you've got a great discard outlet. So you've got 1 card going into the graveyard. Great. In your Sir Conrad's, in your if X goes to the graveyard from anywhere type decks, you've got that. You pay 1. That's just the cost. You pay 1 and discard the card. Nothing can stop you from doing that. And then you explore. Now, exploring, like I said, super helpful. Gets you a land. Also, you get your +1/+1 counter. But you can also just dump it right into the graveyard, because you can either put it back on top if it's helpful, or if it is more helpful in the graveyard, say you've got Command the Dreadhorde in hand, then great. Put it in the graveyard, then take it right back out with a bunch of other stuff. Like, putting things, like, with this 1 activated ability, you get to put possibly 2 things into the graveyard for 1 mana. I love it. I think for, what is this? This is 16 cents for a 1/1 for 3 mana. I think if you've got any sort of protection, this might be super helpful. And I think, too, what is also super helpful is that the discard a card, explore ability is, you can do it as many times as you want, as you can, and you can do it at instant speed, which you can do it in response to removal. You can do it in response to damage. Well, you can do it before damage. And I think it's very flexible. And I think, too, having a 3-mana sack outlet, having a 3-mana outlet where you can sack for cheap is, it doesn't feel so bad when it gets removed, you know? Especially if you are already trying to do the Reanimator thing, then it will be easy to get back. I don't think I'm arguing with anyone here. So, let me tell you how many decks it's in. According to EDH Rec, where we get all our information for our Temple's Treasures type episodes. Thank you, people over there at EDH Rec. It's in 811 decks, which less than 1,000. That means it's fairly unpopular. And because it's within the past couple of years, that's even more surprising. You know, if this card was from before 8th edition, like our Temple's Treasures episodes, there was probably something better than this printed. And yeah, sure, there are probably plenty of things better printed that are better than this now still, but I think, like, having the control over your own discard trigger, or discard outlet, and I think having it on a creature that can get bigger, especially with Menace, like there are so many wild things. Creatures are generally the easiest things to get back from your graveyard in black decks, especially decks that you are already playing this in that are Reanimator. Like this card just goes in circles with how good it belongs in decks. Does that make sense? It's funny. EDH Rec always has how many decks it's in, and then a percentage of how many decks it could be in, which is the percentage is generally not helpful in terms of statistics, because with this it means it's in any deck that could play black. It's in 0% of, let's see, 1,578,288 decks. That's not a helpful statistic, but I think it does go to show where this lies within all of Magic, especially within black. You look at the top 8 commanders that it has, and the deck that it's in the most it's in 47 of 313 Gorex decks, which is 15%. Gorex the Tomb Shell, 6 black for 4/4. As an additional cost to cast the spell, you may exile any number of creature cards from your graveyard. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. So like it's kind of like a, what's the word? Delve? But it's creature based, and it just like you can see why it's in that deck, but like it's surprising that between that, which is in 15%, which is still low, to Tigum, Sidisi's Hand, which is 3 blue and a black for a 3/4, skip your draw step at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. So like Tigum like is kind of doing a similar thing where it's top deck manipulation, but also getting some sort of benefit out of it, because Tigum also says black tap, exile X cards from your graveyard, target creature gets -X/-X till end of turn. And so you look at Gorex, which is in you look at Gorex, and this card's in 15% of those decks, and then you look at Tigum, and it's in 6.75 of those 311 decks. So it's like it's halved. The fact that this is in 811 decks total is wild. I think this needs to be played more. I think that it's going to be super helpful coming up with our return to Ixalan. I think that this is super helpful with any sort of graveyard strategy. I think that graveyard strategies are, generally speaking, on an incline. Like, I think that we are getting more and more graveyard decks, and that's why people are always encouraging people to play more graveyard hate. And, I mean, I think that like speaking of graveyard hate, I think that this, as long as it stays on the battlefield, like it will recover nicely from a Bojuka Bog or something like that. And I think that it's top deck manipulation. It's card draw if you want land, so not really ramp, but fixing maybe. It's +1/+1 counters, so big creature. And just kind of graveyard filler. I think that this card is very well-rounded, especially for casual metas. I think that this is great. So check it out. But that's all I got for today. I'll be back next week, still alone. I'll figure out what I'll talk about then, I suppose. Thanks so much for listening. I'm going to link below. I've got some cool food tokens. Food has been huge, and like more and more has, like, the word food token has been printed more and more on cards than it has ever, and it's just increasing if you know. And so I've created some cool food tokens that I've collaged together from magazines, kind of pasted them onto actual tokens, and I'm selling them on Ko-fi. I put a link below. Check them out. They're real cool. You'll make all your friends go, "Whoa, where'd you get that?" And then you can tell them I sent it to you. So buy one, please, or just support me and Bruce. And yeah, I guess that's about it. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for hanging out. Can't wait for Bruce to get back. Anyway, we're I'm Temple of the False Pod. We're at X and not optimized, but our plays sure as heck are fun. Go check out Tomb Robber. Thank you so much for listening, watching, blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. I'm Andy. Play some magic for me, and may your fifth land be the temple. Wait, before you go, I just wanted to say thank you for listening. You can reach out to us via email at falsepodmtg@gmail.com or on Twitter @falsepodmtg. Bruce is @manaburned, and I'm @AndyWeekend, though you'll definitely notice I use the podcast Twitter far more often. Now that we've got you here, make sure you subscribe, like, rate us on whatever podcast platform you use. It helps us out. It gets us more reach. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Like a video there. Leave some comments for more casual enjoyment. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back with some more timeless discussions about all things casual. So come hang out, and may your fifth land be the temple. Bye-bye. Should I do my best, Bruce? Bye!